Islands and Rideau Lakes.
After 9 years of these NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up for this high-flying, jet-setting Prime Minister who's off to New York to...
I'm sorry. The honourable member has a voice that carries, but I'm still having difficulty hearing his voice. If I could ask members, please. If I could ask all members, please, to have either quiet conversations or so that we can the chair can hear the answer. The honourable member from Leeds Grenville, 1009 Rideau Lakes, from the top, please.
After 9 years of these NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up for this jet-setting, high-flying Prime Minister who's off to New York City to dine with elites while doubling costs for Canadians. While he's there, maybe he could check out the $9 million condo that he got for his media buddy, Tom Clark. They could share a coffee from this $5,000 coffee machine or work on their golf swing at the golf simulator paid for by Canadians, and maybe the Prime Minister can save us a couple of bucks and bunk with his buddy, Tom Clark, at this $9 million condo on Billionaires Row.
The Honourable Minister for National Defence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister of Canada undertakes very important work representing Canada at home and abroad. And for example, this week in New York, he has spoken at the
The Honourable Minister, I'll invite him to start from the top, please.
The Conservatives might have been more comfortable, Mr. Speaker, if I began with a bad poem. However, the Prime Minister undertakes very important work on behalf of Canada at home and abroad. And for example, this week in New York, Mr. Speaker, not only is he speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, but he's also leading and co-hosting the Summit of the Future, talking about key global challenges on sustainable development, international peace and security, technical innovation, digital coordination, decarbonization and clean energy, and human rights. Now, I do appreciate nobody over there appears to care about any of those things, but they are important to Canadians.
Right.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, the housing crisis isn't getting any better. In Quebec, right now, 1,671 families don't have housing. That's more than in July. There are 13% fewer housing starts. According to the APCHQ, many young people are worried about being able to afford the rent. 61% of young people. Can the government understand that making the same mistakes is not going to build more housing in Canada? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of respect for my friend opposite, but he knows full well, where is the Conservative plan on housing? On people who are unhoused.
When it comes to getting people housed, when it comes to making sure there's more homes, what has this government done? Lifted GST off of the construction of apartments, taken people off the street, 87,000 people off the street with wraparound supports, Mr. Speaker. They go to encampments and make videos and use people as props. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to stand back.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of respect for my friend opposite, especially dressed like we are today. But the question is that Canadians are suffering because of a shortage of housing. These folks have been in office for 9 years, and what they're doing isn't working. One thing's for sure on this side, our plan is not based on what the government opposite has done, all the while enthusiastically propped up by the Bloc. 28% of Canadians are thinking of leaving the country because of that. Have you thought about that? I'd just like to remind all members that questions are to be put to the chair in order to maintain a certain atmosphere in the House. The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 housing units, affordable housing units. That's all the conservative leader got built all across the country in the whole time his party was in office. And yet there are 160 affordable housing units that were built in the member opposite's riding in recent months. And so obviously it's the Conservative leader who's incompetent on this file.
L'honorable député de Chicoutimi.
The honourable member for Chicoutimi-Lefort. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of the Environment announced he would delay the imposition of his order, which is harmful to our region, and the bloc saw this as a gain and was satisfied. But this order will ultimately be implemented and will kill 1,400 forestry jobs in our region. It's just a matter of time. The Conservatives, we're the only ones who would cancel that order once and for all. Is the minister willing to say that not one job will be lost as a result of his order? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All the Conservatives have to offer is slogans and catchy phrases. But what we made was an offer of $468 billion to show that we're always open to negotiating a deal with the Quebec government. But the Conservatives from Quebec, obviously, as usual, have nothing to offer anyone. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Lefort. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of this job-killing order, splitting the difference in two is not a gain. Lives are still being ruined. Handing out millions of dollars that won't go to the economic development of our regions is not a gain. The only possible gain for those affected in the forestry sector is for this government to fall before Christmas. I can't put the question to the bloc, but what does the minister have to say about a minimum to the 1,400 forestry workers minimum who will lose their jobs for sure? The Honourable Minister of Climate Change and the Environment. Mr. Speaker, whether it's combating climate change, where the Conservatives have nothing to say, or on the issue of air quality, water quality, the Conservatives are basically the only ones who don't get it. Workers, unions, companies, the regions, the experts all know that there's no future in the forestry industry if we don't protect the forests adequately. No one but the Conservatives questions that. We are there to work with all stakeholders and the government of Quebec to find a solution. The Conservatives can just keep talking to themselves.